Hi students, welcome to Mrs. Hayes presents Note-taking. So today we're going to be discussing two note-taking techniques for use during a lecture or when reading a textbook. So the first type is called Cornell notes. They're very structured and traditional, and the second type is called sketch notes. But the most important part is that both types of notes are supposed to be helping you synthesize and remember this information. So that's really the key that we should be taking away from this, how to synthesize and remember information. All right, so the first type is Cornell notes. They're very structured, and there's a pattern that people typically follow. They will divide your sheet of paper. And in these sections, up at the top, you should put whatever topic you're studying, and hopefully you'll put the date as well. On the left, we call this one the Q column, and then this main area here is the notes column. And then down at the bottom, we have the summary column. So we have our page laid out, and the first place that you would be taking notes is right here in the main notes column. So you're going to go through, you're going to take some main lecture notes. Now, it might not be a lecture, it might be a short section of a textbook that you're reading. Hopefully, when you're doing this, you can be very concise. You might use some lists. And you're going to want to leave space in between, because later you might want to go back and add other things. And you can include diagrams. So sometimes when people see this much structure, they think you can't draw a picture, but if you feel like you need to include a diagram of something that is being discussed, feel free to sketch it. All right, now when should you be filling this out? This area, the notes column, should be during class, basically during a lecture, or if you're reading something from a textbook, during reading the textbook. All right, so when you were done with the notes column, you would come back and work on the Q column, and the Q column should be for main ideas, a study prompt, something that you might want to think about later when you're studying. And then you might also want to include some questions that connect the ideas. So if while you're reading through your notes you think of a question that you want to ask, you might list that out to the side. So when would we be doing this? We would be doing this after class when we're studying or we're reviewing our work. And then the last part is the summary column down at the bottom. Not shockingly, it is where you will be summarizing. And so we want the big idea, and that shouldn't be more than 1 or 2 sentences, very brief. And then when will we be filling this part out? That would be doing it maybe at the end of class or afterwards when you're studying the information. So this is the basic structure of Cornell notes. So if you're a person who really likes structure and linear thinking, then this is maybe a way you would like to organize your information. But we can also organize our information in another way. We can use something called sketch notes, and sketch notes are a little bit more free. They still might include lists. Remember, we're still just synthesizing the information in the lecture. So we will be summarizing. We might be adding some detail. We would want to make sure that we're hitting all the important vocabulary, but then we might want to put this into a container. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Rectangles are fine, thought bubbles. Why would we do that? We might do that, won't close it yet, because these containers will keep our related information together. So if we want to sort of think about things in groups, we might put them in a little thought bubble. Now notice I haven't done anything particularly artsy. You don't have to have any kind of impressive art skill to be able to do this. And so that comes to my next point here. You can, if you want to make yours very artistic, you are of course welcome to do that. Here's my little paintbrush. And if you feel like you're the kind of person who really enjoys adding a little bit of color onto your notes to help you think about your ideas, this is a great time to do that, to add in a little bit of color and interest. But I want to remind you that it doesn't matter if we make mistakes. So don't stress about mistakes, okay? What will we do instead? We will use arrows, are nice to use to connect our ideas. We will instead focus. So I'm using a little bit of a different font there. Focus on ideas. The whole point of this is to be summarizing and remembering our knowledge. All right, you may want to think about drawing a picture. It doesn't really matter if your art is spectacular or not. Okay, but the purpose of an image would be to draw a pic to make a memory. We are trying to make memories. We are trying to remember this information later and synthesize our own understanding. So those are our two types of notes that we discussed today, Cornell notes and sketch notes. A reminder is that our goal is to synthesize the information, so you choose the type that works the best for you.